Thanks for being here. A couple of comments about our Indiana game. A very emotional day for our seniors. And I made the comment last week that because you stay 4 years at a place doesn't earn you the respect of being a senior. And of course, there's senior days, and then there are the real senior days. And we're fortunate this year to really experience one where the majority, if not all, of the guys that jogged out of that tunnel had a significant impact on our program, and very, very good people. Proud to be their coach. So they played well on defense. The players of the game, or excuse me, the great champions were Bradley Roby, playing at a very high level, Bosa, and then the co-defensive players of the game were Ryan Shazier, played as well as he can. I mean, he played outstanding. 54 production points, and that's we've always done production points, and I never, to have 30 is probably the most I've ever seen, and he had 54 production points. Mike Bennett is also playing at a very, very high level. He's healthy again. He started the season very strong, went through some injuries, and then moved on, and he's getting stronger and stronger again. So he played very well. Those are our co-defensive players of the game. On offense, Andrew Norwell played excellent. Taylor Decker once again continues to improve his game. Tight end Jeff Hireman, Devin Smith, and Chris Fields. Running back Carlos Hyde. And co-players of the week were our quarterback Braxton Miller, who played probably his played one of his best games. He threw a 3rd down and 17 in obviously the weather conditions with a guy bearing down on him, and that's his best play at quarterback since we've been here. That's his best, and he knows it. I know it. Tom Herm knows it. So his best play as a quarterback. I'm not saying athlete that jumps around and lands on his head and those kind of things. Those are just gifted, very gifted young man. But his best play as a college football quarterback was the 3rd down and 17 on the right hash in the snowy conditions where he completed a bender to Jeff Hireman with a pressure bearing down on him. He didn't panic out of the pocket. He stepped, delivered the ball, and that might be worth going back and watching it. Fantastic play. And our center, the Apex, Corey Lindsley, graded out a champion. He's 100% healthy and playing like it. Our kicking game was pretty solid. Oh, shoot, I don't have that sheet in front of me. Our player of the game, who was our player of the game? Von Bell. Very good, Jerry. Von Bell is our player of the game. Continues to improve and make great strides. Coverage units were good. Punt, we didn't give up anything. And then kickoff, I think we gave one up near the end, out a little bit with a personal foul penalty, but the game was pretty much over. But I'm pretty pleased with our kicking units. Even though right now we have 12 guys out, season-ending injuries. Almani was out this game. Philly Brown was out this game. Curtis Grant was still out. We didn't feel like he was quite ready, and we got to get him back. The positive is I think Armani's going to be fine for this week, and Josh Perry played fairly well for a guy that missed a couple weeks of practice. And then I think Curtis Grant's going to be good to go, which we'll need him in this game. So we're overcoming some injuries that some young guys are stepping up. Warren Ball played much better. Ezekiel Elliott is very involved in our kicking and coverage units, and those are in big games, especially like this one coming up. Those are going to be critical players in this game. So the good thing is there's some experience there. So we're overcoming. Every team's dealing with injuries, but to see that some young people are stepping up, that's I'm glad we recruited well, and I like these young the young players we have. So I'll answer some questions for you.
Did you have an appreciation for how much of a grudge match this is between Ohio State and Michigan before you were a GA here?
Oh, yeah. No, it probably took it to – no, I didn't realize it because I was just like most that from the outside looking in, hey, it's really a great game. A 10-year war. I grew up in the 10-year war, and I learned to dislike Michigan at a very young age. But, no, you never really truly appreciate till you're behind the walls here and find out how serious it is.
When you were at Bowling Green, obviously Toledo was your biggest rival. Utah, what was the biggest game for you there?
Team down south.
What about
Provo. The team out west. Florida State. FSU, Florida State. So yeah, I just think that's really, I'm a huge fan of college football. I think that's what separates it from really a lot of the other. I'm a fan of pro football too, but I think one of the pageantries and the pageantry and rivalries are unique in college football. And Do we make a big deal out of this game? Absolutely. Do we make a huge deal, like over the top, about rivalry games? Yes, we do. And that's the way I was brought up. That's the way we kind of go over the top here, and we always have.
Bill, you realize you did say Michigan.
Did I really?
Yes,
Yeah, at a very young age. Michigan, at a very young age.
Wow. I apologize.
Could you give a sense of just how different the mindset is here, how different the preparation is here for this week compared
It
to
is different. It's not just another game. It's not. And our players know that. Does that mean we put less value on Indiana or less value on the following week coming up? I didn't say that, but there's an extra pep in the step. We officially started working the game a day earlier than we normally do, and they get it. And our players get it. That's one thing about, a new coach doesn't come in here and try to stimulate that rivalry. That rivalry has been stimulated long, long ago. We need to carry it on and even make it stronger. So.
Do you I just forgot what I was going to say. Never mind, go ahead.
Let it roll, Bob.
Was there a moment when you were a GA when you were coaching for Earl where something happened or there was an incident where you realized how much bigger this was maybe than you thought? Anything that...
Yeah, it's kind of funny. I was driving to work on a Monday morning as a 21-year-old graduate assistant, and I look up on those twin towers by the stadium, and it says Muck Fishigan and sheets hanging out. And I said, that is really cool right there. And then they switched the M and the F, and someone made them take it down. So that was in 1986. So there's some old student now that was back then laughing their tail off when they hear that, saying, yeah, that was my room.
I'm also curious because that was so long ago, and Earl obviously coached for Woody, and we were close to the 10-year war. Has this lost anything over the years? I mean, you think it's still just as intense and whatever as it was?
Oh, I do. Absolutely, I do. I think the 10-year war, just because the two iconic people that were running the programs and what Bo Schembechler did for that school, when they beat them, I think it was 69. Was it 69? Yeah, 69, and a lot of that was a heck of a time period for both schools.
Front row right. Austin? Remember when you referenced the Holy War in Florida State when you were in Florida? When you go in and you don't maybe have that same appreciation that you did for this rivalry, how long does it take you to adapt to that tradition and learn it, and then it becomes as passionate for you as it is?
Well, I'm very fortunate. I mean, at Bowling Green, that was you just ask, and I would always have people come back. I think that's really great. I'm going to try to have Coach Bruce speak to our team this year, and obviously this one I don't need to be educated on very much. However, I asked, and I thought Coach Trestle, obviously with his record, was phenomenal. So I did a lot of homework on some of the things that him and his staff did. And then when I went out to Utah, I had to be introduced to that. But I dove into it and made our staff learn everything about it, made our staff take a test to figure out about what the rivalry meant. Because I don't want coaches to be phony. I don't want somebody from Ohio stepping into Salt Lake City and telling making it act like it's a big deal, but deep down you don't believe it is. That players see right through that. So I was educated real fast, and I asked and tried to learn as much as I could.
You said there's an extra day of preparation for this week. When you get into actually coaching, are you acting differently? Does it feel different once you get
It does feel different, and I'm not acting different, but it does feel different, and I see it with our staff. That's a good thing about hiring guys that live the rivalry. They know it, and coaching players that appreciate it too.
front row, Kim?
Yeah, a couple things. Number one, Braxton, like you just pointed out, he might have had one of his better games ever on Saturday, but especially on that one play, whatever. Do you see him playing suddenly on a different level? He took the brace off and was just kind of going at it. And what does that, I guess, portend for your offense going forward? You got Dontre Wilson coming online a little bit more and stuff. Do you see this offense getting better in the next 2 or 3 games?
We have to. When you see who we're playing, a very well-coached defense coming up with good players, and obviously we see what's coming down the road. But our focus is this week, so I see us playing at a pretty high level. That was a pretty impressive performance by our guys, and especially in those conditions last week. And I see us, if the term is peaking, I don't usually use that term, but I feel we're getting better and better each week. Braxton Miller is a different quarterback than he was. And people make a comment about he's having fun. And he's having fun because he knows what he's doing. He's confident in the personnel around him. And that was not the case last year. And I wasn't here, but I can only imagine his freshman year when, because Braxton, like any, I don't want to just say like any athlete, but Braxton is a guy that if he's not comfortable, he's not going to, act like he's having fun when it's not fun. And he knows where people are. He knows the protections. He's playing quarterback, and he has a skill set to be a pro quarterback. There's no doubt in my mind. I don't believe he's ready yet, but he's certainly, I get asked that question, can Braxton Miller play NFL quarterback? Absolutely he can. No doubt in my mind, because he continues to develop.
And the other thing, what do you see about Michigan? Michigan clearly is going through a tough period offensively, it does appear. What do you see about them? What do you sell to your team about them this week? They're a 4-loss team.
Yeah, I have not watched their offense yet. Crossover, we've seen them a couple times. We're getting ready for Penn State. We saw them, and then last week we saw them a little bit getting ready for Indiana. But I have not studied their offense. Obviously, Coach Fickle and Coach Withers have, and they're in charge of it. And I'll go visit with them on Tuesday about it. But I think everyone knows, and I read someone's comment where it doesn't matter. These in teams that care about rivalries, it doesn't matter. We'll get their best game.
Back row left, Jared.
Urban, was your last trip to Ann Arbor, were you working in television?
Oh, yeah, but I mean the last one was when I was coaching was in 1987, and Coach Bruce's last game.
What are your visions when you think of the big house? How do you explain it to the team to prepare them for what they're going into? What do you tell them about the players?
We won't. Usually don't spend much time. It's a big stadium with a lot of people in it, and we'll do crowd noise on Wednesday, and we don't do pregame walkthroughs at places. And I don't want our players. We need to know where the 25-second clock is, the quarterbacks, and then all that matters is the white lines and the turf. So we've never really been a big team about, hey, let's go check out the stadium, because to me stadiums are stadiums, and just take care of your business. We know we'll be loud. We know the fans are passionate. We know this is going to be a big game for everyone involved. So we won't spend much time talking about it at all, if any.
Front row, Todd.
The play you talked about with Braxton on the 3rd and 17 to Jeff, has he made that play this year, and how big of a step is that for a quarterback, especially a quarterback who's got some athleticism to him, not to tuck it and run on something like that?
Well, Josh Harris was a great quarterback. We had a Bowling Green that we had the moment where he became a quarterback, and then Alex Smith had a couple moments where all of a sudden you're like, there, we got one. And then same with Chris Leak, and then Tim Tebow, and then this guy. And he's had a couple moments. This is the best play I think the best play he's had as a quarterback. That was his moment where he stood right in a pocket, and that's the hardest thing you ask a quarterback to do, especially him. Not him. That's the hardest thing you ask any quarterback to do. I mean, it was right in I think it's worth watching the end zone copy if you can. And he threw right over the top of someone, got hit right in the face, and delivered a strike, about a 25-yard pass, 17-yard, 3rd and 17.
And not to diminish the rivalry at all, but do you use the 69 game as a cautionary tale this week with this group, or is that something that you think that?
I might. That's usually later in the week. I might. I think it's always good to talk about the history of the rivalry. I mean, our players know it, but I think, we might do that.
Far left back, Matt.
Just interested, as well as things went this weekend, you were -3 turnover margin, which might have had something to do with the weather and everything. But in this game coming up, how important do you see that, going up there?
What was the difference in last year's game? It was we were not very good up until that point. I think we missed on 1 or 2 red zone opportunities, and last year our field goal kicker Drew won the game for us. Defense created turnovers, we got positive field position, and we couldn't score, which is, you have to give them credit, but we have to be much better down there. But it was that was a difference in last year's game, and I would anticipate big games. That's that and kicking game are the edges. Those are the things that make the difference in those kind of games.
One other thing, Duran Grant, is he fine? I know he left the game.
Yeah, he left. He practiced yesterday. He's fine. It was more precautionary yesterday or Saturday.
Front row left, Doug.
Urban, this game has always been at the end of the regular season, and now there's a title game after it. You've dealt with that before, playing a rivalry game and then a title game in the SEC. Just, I don't know, especially in Ohio State, you put everything into the Michigan game, and then you could wait months till the bowl game. Anything different about it now?
I think there is. You know, this will be our first one. Like you said, I've done it we've done it 3 times, I believe, and it's I don't want to say it's awful, but I mean, you talk about blowing out your staff and, you know, our players, and then throw in finals week and those type of things that our players are dealing with right now. So this is I mean, our focus is on this one, but we know what's coming. And you have to be so disciplined in the way you practice, the way, I'm going to warn our coaches, I'm warning myself about sleep, taking care of yourself, because this next 2 weeks are going to be brutal.
And you mentioned Michael Bennett. You guys played Adolphus as a tackle on Saturday. Right. Bennett was getting through double team. Just that defensive line, how far has it come this year? What level are they playing at?
I think Mike's doing an excellent job. Those are all new guys. The front 7, other than Ryan Shazier, were all new players. And right now, especially after last week, I don't think we played that well against Illinois. And not to take anything away from Illinois' scheme and that quarterback, but this past week I thought, and I will say that I think Coach Fickle and Coach Withers, it might have been their best game plan. You know, every time there was, it was a little bit of a chess match because they were looking over the sideline. We were changing our defenses and did a very good, very pleased with the performance of our defense Saturday. And a big part of it is that defensive line.
Front row middle, Steve.
Yeah, Coach, I want to ask about Michigan's defense. You touched on it a little bit earlier. Seems like they've improved since Ryan got back in there at linebacker.
Right.
He missed the first half, and then Frank Clark up front looks like a pretty disruptive guy. They've held a couple teams under 20 and lost games in the last month. Just what do you see with them?
Well, you watch the film, and I think, Sunday's indication is you watch the film before you go home at night, and you're thinking, how are we going to block these guys? Because I think they're very well coached. Obviously, I'm very close with the D coordinator, and I think he's a great coach. And they're playing very hard. They got excellent players. So whatever issues the rival has, it has nothing to do with their defense. Their defense is playing at a very, very high level, and we have to play our best game to move the ball against these guys.
Last 2 questions. Back row there left, Bill.
Harmon, has there been a Braxton moment with Shazier? And also, how many times have you had a guy make 20 tackles?
Has there been, I'm sorry?
A Braxton moment with Shazier where kind of...
Yeah, I don't know if you can pinpoint a play. That might be a good one to ask Coach Fickle. But the thing that he's doing, he used to always overrun plays, if you remember back when because he's almost like a safety playing linebacker, and he's grown into that linebacker position. Now he's falling back on plays, and that he made a bunch of tackles where he would, his instinct is on the inside zone or zone play, which everybody runs, is to go front side, and that's the concept of the plays. He cut back behind it, and he's fallen back on those plays. So he did that as well as I've seen him play, and really as well as I've seen a linebacker do it. Brandon Spikes used to be outstanding at that, where you sit up front side and you fall back and make that tackle. So he's just, his fundamentals of tackling are what have made him the player that he is right now.
20 tackles? Have you had a guy make 20 tackles?
I was here when Spielman had like 30 or something against our rivals. I think we probably have, I don't know. But that's a lot of tackles.
Last question, Lori.
Coach, how do you balance making this week special like it is and keeping the guys in the routine that's worked for them now, 23 games?
Not hard to do. I think this is special. It is different than last week. It's different than the weeks before. It's the rivalry game, and we'll have senior tackle on Thursday. Our players, we have an excellent routine. I love how we do it. We practice in the morning. Local players can go home for Thanksgiving. They're back the next day. I want our coaches to work the game and our players to work the game. A big part of it is the routine on a rivalry week, and there's no issue. Our guys will be ready to go.